And we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Hall. You're watching The Late Show. With me, we have, I don't want to jump ahead, but we have an incredible crew here. With me, as always, is Jack Maturko. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing pretty well, Andy. It's been a hell of a week.
I'm doing my Dragon Ball Z moves, as you can probably see right here. Right, I've been practicing all week.
Get that motion going.
Get the motion.
Entertain the peoples.
Motion brings emotion. Isn't that what salespeople say? I don't know. With us tonight is the director, formerly known as Lucien Greaves. Hello, Lucien.
Hello.
Co-founder of the Satanic Temple, Chalice Blythe.
Hello.
Yes, I think I actually said those words right. And Dex,
yes,
I'm going to take a stab. I'm going to make a good, faithless effort at your last name. Desjardins?
Pretty
Maybe?
close. Desjardins, yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
We are here to talk about a piece of art, a piece of film, something cinematic, something wonderful. Michelle remembers the porn parody, and I think if a picture can say 1,000 words, what about a trailer? I think a trailer can speak gaggles of words, and I think we're going to take a look at the trailer first, and then we're going to start talking about the film itself. So let me see if I can do this without messing anything up.
You feel the couch beneath you. You feel the rise and fall of your chest as I breathe in the air around you. You hear the faint sounds of the traffic in the streets in the distance, and you're both comforted and terrified to know that there's a whole world beyond the immediate grasp of your senses.
All right, quiet on the set.
You're muted, director. I don't know what to do.
I refer to it as anti-climax porn. The kind of porn that I thought it would really be gratifying to me if somebody were all lubed up, ready to go, didn't know what they were getting into, fast forwarded to where they thought the good scene was getting started, and then saw something that completely just lost their boner for them entirely.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get back in character now, so hold on.
Get off your phone, director.
So I says to Cheryl, listen, you're giving me the runaround here, and I'm not buying it.
Well, that certainly is fascinating, isn't it, everybody?
There's simply a blanket acceptance of any and all blowjobs, such that a woman need not even ask. My dear, do not even trouble yourself with asking. Just get down there and get sucking. Is that how you presume it to be?
Oh, okay, so, yeah, that really does sound worse than fucking cancer.
I don't think I have any memories that I don't remember.
I would prefer glitter on my level, actually, if you could do that.
I like that too.
Cool. I just came here to, beat off.
At the point where you're halfway out of the butt and the fucking starts, I just want to take it wherever the mood carries you.
Sex is the one thing that you can make God miss.
When best not use her tongue
butter fist. Michelle must now learn that her vagina was built
for her own shameful acts and her own endless guilt. She will not be a slave to Satan anymore. This is the moment
we've all been waiting for.
Now, this is the time where I have to tell the audience that we actually didn't rehearse that. They made that up right now on their own. We're managed to be in perfect sync. Nobody's going to believe it once it happens that this kind of beautiful music just emerged.
Brett, really? You scared the children.
Does anybody want ice cream while we wait for Michelle to get started on the cake?
Satan belts out a terrifying lion's roar.
Roar.
Not bad. A kid says,
Is Michelle going to open a present we bought her?
And now, true healing can really begin.
Michelle stands, meeting Dr. Pazder face to face while unbuttoning her blouse.
Oh, there that goes. Shit, what did I do? Did I just totally fuck that up?
This is sort of like a satanic aristocrats, isn't it?
But better, and better than anything, and better than Jesus, and better than all the other stupid fucking crap you've been watching on Netflix or anything else. This table reading, just as it is better than any of that bullshit you've seen all fucking year.
Yeah. Mind if I reach around? Hold on.
All right. That was incredible. How does it feel to be part of a remarkable piece of work like this?
It was the role I was made to play, I think.
I was afraid I wasn't going to have any accomplishments before I died, but now I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah. I think, honestly, if my entire house were to burn down tonight, I'd die happy.
Very good.
Well, I mean, it was such a strong vision, if I do say so in all humility. This script, something needed to happen with it. And when COVID struck, we couldn't film an actual porn. So we did the next best thing, and we did the table reading. And I think it gives you the opportunity to really appreciate really the depth of the work and the thought that went into it, the nuanced complexities of this story. And that it could just, the sex scenes could really distract you from that in the future. So I'm really glad that for the historical record, we put something like this into place. And sometimes you appreciate art for its perfection of form and the way in which somebody would manage to execute it perfectly in every way they meant to setting out. And this has none of that. But some art just captures a very authentic moment in time. And I feel that this has every bit of that. And I think one of my favorite things about it was Justin's poor delivery. It's a poor delivery that's such a masterful poor delivery. It's such a hilarious poor delivery that an actor trying to act out a hilarious poor delivery couldn't do it better than Justin did. There's something about watching him read the lines and become aware of the lines just as he reads them and the expressions he has on his face and how that causes him to stop sometimes, while all the while also trying to put in the proper emotion while he's reading the lines. That is something we will not recapture in an actual filming of an on-set porn film of this.
Yeah, there's parts of it that felt like just watching it felt like there were parts of it that if there was a second take, it wouldn't have been as good.
No, that's the beauty of it, is that it looks like it wasn't thoroughly read in advance, it seems, at least by some. And, we sat and just took it away. And that's what made it that authentic moment in time where it's like, I'll watch this years later and remember how fun that was and how fun it was to be there sitting with friends laughing at this stupid script. And I think that if anybody else outside of that circle of people reading it get any sense of that at all, it's very entertaining.
All right, before we go further into it, Michelle remembers, for people who don't know the source material, would you like to talk a little bit about that for people who aren't acquainted with it?
Yeah, oddly enough, this started with a legitimate idea. Michelle Remembers is a book that came out in 1980 and is credited with kicking off the Satanic Panic. It was supposed to be the true story of the recovered memories of one Michelle Smith, who went to a Catholic psychiatrist and under hypnosis recalled these elaborate, detailed stories of being abused by a satanic cult that her family belonged to. And this story was taken seriously by daytime talk shows. They went on Oprah, they went on other high-profile shows, despite the fact that it's a supernatural horror tale. It doesn't end with the idea that there's some kind of Satanist doing depraved things in the secular world. There's Satan himself makes an appearance in this book. Saint Michael comes and drives him off. Jesus descends from the heavens and removes your scars from her. And yet this was supposed to be a true story, laughable as it is. But Michelle Smith and Lawrence Pastor, they ended up getting married. And there was some images of them doing some very up-close therapy, snuggled up with one another during the therapy sessions. And it just really began to feel, once you investigate more about the Michelle Remembers story, that this was some bizarre kink between her and her psychiatrist. And probably the psychiatrist employed some of his therapeutic methods just to get in her pants, which of course leads us to the idea of Michelle Remembers the Porn parody behind the scenes, trying to imagine what was really happening in these therapeutic sessions that made her recall these depraved tales. And what is it about all that that got Lawrence Pastor so worked up that he eventually put his dick in her?
So, Dex, what was it like to play such a dick?
I didn't really have to do very much. I just kind of sat there and talked like myself. No, I think what I was trying to go for was trying to imagine a sleazy pervert doctor trying to act poorly. Nice. And that was kind of the vibe I tried to put out.
Yeah, I felt creepy. I mean,
Good.
I felt a little, creeped out by the whole vibe that you were giving off.
Yeah. I wanted people to be a little uncomfortable.
Right. And what were the lines about how you brought Michelle into this trance state? Your body is feeling.
Oh yeah, the weight of your body on the couch, breathing the air around you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't bringing that off the script. I was there a couple times. Sure.
And I have to say, Chalice, I thought you were magical, to tell you the truth. I thought you were magical. You had to have the most lines in the piece. And I thought the facial expressions, what you did, in the frame and everything, I thought that was pretty inspired stuff there. And you had a lot of fun, and it showed.
Yeah, well, I was also heavily inebriated at the time, so because I have a terrible terrible performance anxiety. So I figured that with such beautiful words that I'd had to do them justice with, a little bit of making them a little extra. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm glad that the facial expressions. I was trying to play it straight. There was like a balance there of like wanting to play it straight, as if I was actually there trying to be an actress who, because in all those porns where you start out and you're really trying to make your acting chops like really present, because there's a lot of acting chops that you're going to have to do as you're getting railed and pretending you're enjoying it. But I thought facial expressions just what it would add to it, and just really trying to get into it. So I'm glad.
Hearing you correctly that you're saying that this was a lot different than other porns you've done?
All the porns I've done?
They're pretty different.
Well, there's a lot of similarities, I think. Yeah.
Minus the sex. But I have to hand it to you. You did drop trow.
I did.
I squatted.
Yeah, I wanted to drop trout just a little bit more, but I had a drawstring, and at that point I was a little flustered because I had been I fucked up. It's actually in the trailer where I I stood up and I literally broke everything.
Because there's that. I wasn't sure to what extent that was intentional, because it
No.
could. I don't feel bad talking about it because it was in the trailer, but there was the bit where, in the notes that Lucien was reading, it says, you unbutton your shirt, and there was the part where, like, there was a moment where I was just like, she just realized she didn't wear a button-up shirt.
Yeah, well, that was the part where I realized I probably should have read this a little bit better, but ahead of time. There was a little rehearsal ahead of time. Dex and I decided that we really wanted to see, is this something we can utilize in our own lives? So we sat down. Both had some wine, decided to, read to each other and, really try and get into character and, really try and find the soul of these two people, to really bring it to the actual performance. And so clearly I didn't pay attention well enough to know I should have done that. But when I was trying to unbutton my unbuttonable shirt, I broke literally everything on there. So
I also forgot to wear a tie for my tie scene, but
that's right.
Yeah.
So for
I
every
have a friend who's been messaging me ever since, trying to figure out how much of this was contrived, how much of it was genuine. I mean, she seems genuinely disturbed by the whole thing, really confused. Just like, well, just what were the limits here? What was in earnest and what was not? And to me, that's a real mark of success.
If you leave that kind of ambiguity, and that's what
right. I mean, just even asking Chalice if that was intentional or not. Like, I feel like that's just all part of it. It's just perfect.
Yeah.
And I think
go ahead, Dex.
I think the two of us, Chalice and I, showing up as inebriated as we did, really helped a lot. I did not remember literally anything other than the opening 4 lines when I sat down to actually watch the thing the other night.
Same. There was a lot that, as we were watching the thing, as we were watching it after fact, there was some of it where I was like, oh man, poor Michelle Short having to listen to me, go on my rantings about putting a dildo, trying to fuck her for forever, which is true. But I'm like, I said that out loud and now the entire world knows it.
And then I saw Jessica lamenting on Twitter that she had walked off to take a pee when she didn't know that she was expected to sing along with the rest of the chorus. That's just the type of environment we were in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just made it all the better. And that's and I think that's what makes it more special than if this was this rehearsed, like, actual, because if you're gonna do a porn, there's actual, like, there's a seriousness to it because you're doing this thing and you got to realize that if you fuck something up, you got to do a retake, and you can only get pounded so much in one day before you got to, be like, all right, next day. And a lot of the magic gets taken away. So I actually love the fact that this was a table read and not an actual one, which I think there should be one eventually. But I think it adds more to the actual script and to the words and the setup that Lucien here has created.
But I think we should take this, like, one take attitude into filming the actual porn. Like, if somebody's, like, trying to push rope in and they're like, I'm just not getting it up. I'm out. Just scene. And we leave it. It's anticlimax porn after all, right?
That's right. And, if I don't necessarily shit on his face on cue, that's fine. You guys can just watch me try for a while. See how dedicated he is to, to this thing that we've built up over the course of, having my, spouting out all these memories and be like, well, here we are. Guess we'll just wait.
Well, I think the magic in that kind of defecation shot there would be your facial expression, and you just really trying is really the filming the journey, I think, would be more important than actually showing the defecation.
Yeah, this is why this is why in your bathroom you never put a mirror in front of where you're taking a shit, because that's a horrendous thing to have to watch. But for the sake of something like this, probably
Sure.
better.
So, Lucien, So what's it like? Because I know you've been on our old show Naked Diner before, you know, in the past, and we talked about Grey Faction, which is a passion project of yours. So what's it like doing a passion project on your passion project?
It's funny because, you know, Grey Faction's a very serious mission. And then there's, you know, we're one of the only groups now confronting this topic of the ongoing use of recovered memory therapies to create these conspiracist narratives and instill people with these bizarre delusions of abuse that they've never suffered, and thus, you know, double victimizing them. And it was, you know, I've developed a weird sense of humor now. So to see some asshole on Twitter talking about how it was in really poor taste that we were making fun of some woman's abuse with the Michelle Remembers script, to me, that's similar to saying that, you know, making a mockery of Pizzagate is victimizing all the children that are kept down there in the torture chambers in the dungeon or whatever. But Michelle Smith is also dead, and so is Lawrence Pastor. And at this point, it's just, people should really realize that this is available to mockery and fully deserving of it. Just to underscore just how ludicrously fictitious this tale is and what it was probably premised upon. And even given, you know, how absurd intentionally the narrative is that I put together, I think the core idea probably rings true to the reality of how Michelle Remembers was created. I think you probably had a fucked up pervert psychiatrist who really did have an agenda, and he put this woman under hypnosis and specifically focused on stories of sadistic sexual abuse because it probably got him off. And they certainly did end up fucking. They ended up getting married. And I think people should recognize that element of the Michelle Remembers story. And I hope that, you know, even as silly as this story is, that it somewhere embeds in people's minds that, you know, this is what Michelle Remembers is really about.
Indeed.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I think people that I've been talking to about it, I've noticed that there seems it kind of opens the topic up to a lot of people, because you've been writing about this for years, and in an academic way, which academic writing only gets so much traction. Have you found that, like, doing this comedic, satirical, anti-porn thing with it has gotten people to say, like, you know, oh, now I understand, you know?
I don't think I've heard anybody say that, because I think things like this move into people's consciousness in such a subtle way that they don't realize it's changed their thinking about it. You know, if they accept that kind of premise of this absurd script, they're not realizing it's changed their mind over, you know, about a larger narrative entirely, and they might resist, you know, the very idea that it has, because it is such a ludicrous script. But earlier on, before the Satanic Temple, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation was the only organization that was fighting against the ongoing use of these recovered memory therapies and that kind of thing. And their whole approach was always writing journal articles to counteract the pseudoscience of the ISSTD. And then I would write things about these recovered memory narratives of satanic ritual abuse, alien abduction, and that kind of thing. And it was clear that the academics who were writing the journal articles felt that that was, for some reason, lowbrow. Like, we shouldn't sink that low to, you know, attack the absurd conspiracy theories that makes us all look silly, which I could never understand, because the shame is on them. You know, that's theirs to explain away. And don't let them frame the argument as something else. You know, let's not ignore what seems obvious about the Michelle Remembers story and just talk about the intricacies of memory and what we don't know about it yet. Because then you kind of end up in a God of the gaps argument. Well, we don't have a unifying theory of the mind, so, you know, maybe we'll find a case someday, even though we haven't found one yet. And then if we find that one case, we can say all of this bullshit is true. And even back then, I was saying that the academic argument, the scientific research psychologist argument, it's over. The science is really settled on this matter. It's really a cultural issue now. It's a cultural war. The problem now is that so many lay people recognize this Freudian narrative of repressed memories and the idea that you can recall them under hypnosis or other therapeutic measures. And that's really entrenched in our culture. And it takes little bullshit like this. It takes things that make people laugh or entertain people while showing them a different perspective on this to finally break through that barrier of ignorance. And I don't really think this Michelle Remembers Porn parody is going to do much of that heavy lifting. But overall, through time, when people are exposed to these kinds of things and we tell these kinds of stories, and these kinds of stories become more interesting to people or start to ring more true because they recognize them and have a better understanding of where the science is at, that's where the battle is right now.
Yeah, this is a story that, historically and culturally speaking has ruined lives. A lot of the satanic panic started and people don't realize that, this is the jumping off point for, the satanic panic, and that there were actual victims, but the victims were those being accused of, satanic ritual abuse and, all the lives lost, because of that. So, we can write all the academic, one of the things that Grey Faction has always struggled with is being able to really connect with people who don't know about it, or they kind of know about it, but they're really not sure, what it is or really the impact. And so, we can get academic on these things as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we're dealing with people that have, people, and I mean, in generally speaking, and I'm even one of them, who have short attention spans. And so if you find these different ways in which to, have fun, while also being able to highlight something that really is important, that gets people's attention. It's like, well, what's Michelle Remembers? There's this porn parody and all these people I follow and I think their shit's funny on Twitter. Like, what's this thing? And so it's just another way, even though I'm sure that, the basis of it wasn't necessarily this, to be used as this tool, but it is a tool that can be used to, start or have people thinking about the larger conversation and the larger idea about it, and learn something along the way while also having a laugh.
See, I came in just playing the role of pretentious director, and then you brought the actual pretentious director right out of me.
Well, considering how many times I had to yell at you to do your job during this, I think we're just continuing on that trend.
So, talking about having a laugh. So, what is the difference between having a laugh and having a laugh with ice cream?
I don't know. There was just something not very ice cream about the laugh they were doing, and they were supposed to be having ice cream while laughing. Nobody had a brain freeze. Nobody had, nobody was dripping anything. I don't know. I just had a vision in that moment, and it wasn't being followed. So I had to yell out some stage directions. Obviously I'm a very discerning director. Everything had to be just so. Right. Part of this.
Well, there was whiskey coming out of my mouth. So I tried simulating it as best as I could.
Excellent. So, what I find interesting about how you're using art in this way to expand the conversation and to reach different people, it strikes me as being very congruent, if I could use that word, with the Satanic Temple, about using non-traditional ways of making your point, of fighting oligarchy, fighting patriarchy, and when I saw it, it's like, wow, that spot on, and I thought it would really vibe with what you are all about.
Yeah, I think you're seeing me lose my fucks. I'm not giving a fuck as much as I did. Even when we started out, we were very willing to play with satire and pranksterism, but very clear about what we really believe and where we're coming from. And we've never lived that down. You know, you have people, anytime you employ humor, saying, well, then everything you're doing is entirely lacking in authenticity or whatever. And I used to worry about that a lot, and I just don't fucking care anymore. Like, how can you do everything all the time, just 100% humorless and sober, and go through it and enjoy any bit of your life while you're doing it? What we're doing really with so many of these projects is grim enough. And, you know, it looks like we're certainly the underdogs in the Christian nationalist takeover. It's you know, the gray faction battle is a real difficult one, and we're really clawing uphill against entrenched pseudoscientific superstition. And we hear ugly stories from this all the time. You know, we hear retractors, we see people who are victimized by psychiatrists like Pastor. And if you lose your sense of humor, you're gonna go fucking crazy. Or maybe that's what's happened, but we plug along.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. You know, I can't believe we're 30 minutes into this conversation and we haven't talked about Lupercalia, if I'm pronouncing that right, and I think I am, or about the Satanic Temple, because there are people in the chat who may not be aware that where this table read was taking place in terms of the virtual HQ and what Lupercalia is all about.
I'll let Dex Desjardins take that one.
Yeah, Sexy Dexy. Tell us all about it.
You're muted, Dex.
Oh, yes, you are muted. Now,
yes,
okay.
I was muted. I said, actually, Chalice has probably the best words on this.
Which part?
What Lupercalia is all about.
Oh, I think you would do just fine. I think people are sick of hearing my voice at this point.
Well, it's a holiday that goes back to Roman times, and I'm very much broad stroking this description here. And it's celebrated usually over the course of a few days. And, you know, we started our Lupercalia celebration the other day. Was it Thursday? I think the first day of it on VHQ, and we're going right through. The actual day of Lupercalia is tomorrow, right? Monday. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a special day for us. Mm-hmm. And it's often marked by, I think one of the things that this tied in with nicely actually is sexual self-expression, whether, you know, one is kind of sexually motivated, like say myself, or asexual, or anywhere else in the spectrum. It's actually written right into the description of the holiday that, you know, different groups, different identities, genders, whatever, should use this as an opportunity for self-expression. Last year, there was an opinion among some that the overt sexual expression side of the spectrum got a little too much attention. And one thing that's nice this year is we've seen the ace community start to coalesce and put some good stuff out there, which I've heard was very good.
Yeah, meaning there was a presentation done in virtual headquarters tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. I think, you know, generally speaking, Lupercalia is just like the ultimate hail yourself celebration, and people do that in different ways. And I think indulgence is a really good so feast, indulgence, whether that's, you know, in carnality, or, you know, maybe people want to spend like that $80 on that one thing they've been wanting. Or they want to, you know, use it as a replacement for Valentine's Day or something. So, yeah, I really love this holiday. I think it's a fantastic one that really kind of speaks to the true nature of Satanism, which is, you know, self. You know, it's a religion of self, and you know, what better way to celebrate that than to really, you know, amp that up to 11 for this kind of holiday. So,
and there's some of that in the movie too, where it is kind of this, okay, here's a group of people who are just going to really lean into this stuff that's just kind of there to amuse each other, and then putting it out to the world and hope that everybody else enjoys it too, kind of feel to it, you know? I just went through this thing where we
filed for a temporary restraining order against abortion restrictions in Texas.
Yeah.
And we were filing for this temporary restraining order to allow Planned Parenthood to accept our exemption from these restrictions in Texas. And because it was Planned Parenthood that was acting as the abortion clinic, Planned Parenthood was named. So I got a flood of these dipshits who thought that we were taking some kind of punitive action against Planned Parenthood, and that our suit was against Planned Parenthood, and that we were ultimately going to destroy Planned Parenthood. So I just saw nothing but floods of bullshit from these fuckfaces throughout this time where we were doing this. So I've kind of stopped looking at comments for a little while and backed off a bit. So I have no idea how this was received. And to tell you the truth, as part of the new me with the no fucks to give, I really don't care, because I really had fun with it. And, I think because I had fun with it, I just assume that people can watch it and have fun seeing it. But if they don't, fuck them.
Well, that's the nature of comedy in general. You talk to a lot of comedians, and they will tell you that, it is a specific art, that what they are doing, and that art is not, that particular brand of art, that particular flavor of art is not universal, because every art has a particular style. People like chocolate ice cream. People like certain kinds of comedy. So people may not glom onto what you're doing, but that doesn't mean what you're doing, it sucks, or that it has no value to it.
Well, I thought, as, speaking about my experience and how much, talking about how fun it is, I've been with this organization for a very long time, and I've been a leader in it, and that has been a very rewarding experience, but it's also been a tremendously stressful experience. Both Dex and Lucien, well, Lucien more so, I guess, than either of us, but, what that comes with has come with a lot less fun than anything else. So being able to just finally not just do something for us, and do something for, something that, brought us joy and brought humor to us, and, people could either like it or they didn't, but who gives a fuck, because we did. That was part of that was the best part, I think, for me, for being a part of this, and why I was so happy to be able to be a part of it, was because it's just like, fucking finally I can start having fun, Right. So yeah, that's so if people like it, that's great. If not, I don't care,
If not, we'll probably do it again anyway.
We're gonna do it again anyway, and we're gonna do it to such an extraordinary degree. Like, it can only get better from here.
There's a really good comment in the Dex, were you?
Okay. I was just gonna say, this was the most fun thing I've done since joining TST, and that's been a while. But also, so far, the only feedback I've heard has been entirely positive.
Good.
There's a good comment by Phyllis Alari in the comments that says, "I come in peace," which I think could be a good title for an alien abduction version on the same theme.
We had a digression where people were throwing out porn titles of like follow-ups somewhere in the Michelle Remembers table read itself, where we had that digression.
I think my favorite one of those was Michelle.
That's a good one.
So what are the chances are we going to get a full puppet version of Michelle Remembers the Porn Parody?
Oh, there's slim chances that you won't. People are energized about this now. I've gotten text messages from people, people who obviously have my number and have the will to make things happen, talking about the people they know who make props and things like that. My concern is I don't want it to be of too high quality.
Oh,
I'm getting some really good offers for some really solid stuff here, and I don't know if it's kind of incongruous with the rest of what we're doing here. Well, you saw my sketches, right? I really like that, no CGI, but old school kind of special effects. Somebody wearing the black bodysuit with the black background, rather than being, green screen.
Well, there's more than one way to spend a production budget, though, right? Like, I mean, you could have really shitty props, but then when you need the dildo, you get a solid gold one.
Right, yeah.
Or the one that's supposed to come out of my mouth to simulate the cock literally going right through me. I think, just like something that attaches to the tongue. So, and then a little bit of CGI so that like, if like, let's say the tongue's sticking out and then like the cock doesn't really look like, so that's where the production value could be to really make it look like that cock's just all the way through. But no, you could actually, I can envision it being, like high production quality as far as like, cameras and lighting and sound and all that stuff, but it's still having the feel of this is literally the first time and the only time they'll do the takes and things are going to fall over. The black suit with the puppeteer, that's going to either rip or, the puppet's going to fall over. That stuff all stays. But it's going to be so well lit. It's going to have like the best cinematography possible. And I think that would be, I think.
Or, if you did like a Kickstarter and got like $50 million, like I would still want to film it on 0 budget. And then we just superfluously throw in a scene where like a massive spaceship battle happens. And then we just cut back to the movie and people are, the fuck was that?
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's where that money will go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say the obvious thing is that South Park wouldn't be so great if the animation style was fantastic.
Yeah, no, exactly right.
Very true.
So there's something to be said for, if you're going to do it in a particular style, then that might resonate with people. Well, that might resonate with a particular group of people.
Well, we've really, a lot of us have really added to our affinity of terrible films during the pandemic. I run a movie night weekly, which is on Wednesdays now, always playing the worst triple features, just the most awful films. And the worse they are, the more we seem to enjoy them together. And I think it's kind of broken my brain because we put the ad for Michelle Remembers on YouTube, and I saw there was like 3 positive ones, and then there was some guy saying, "This is horrible. Why did I watch this?" And I was like, fucking right. Yes. Did it.
That's the perfect feedback. That's how you know you were successful.
Yeah. Well, it seemed confused and a little bit outraged, and I thought that's exactly the reaction we're going for here.
Confused and outraged. Very nice. The 1-2 punch.
That's on TST TV, the movie nights, right?
Oh yeah. Wednesdays at 8.
There you go.
A friend of the channel, Joe Badon, he's out of Louisiana. He was a Christian, and now I think he's officially agnostic, very into atheism. But he did this weird mashup movie called Sister Tempest, and it is just a low budget movie, but it's beautiful in its weirdness and just a mashup of different styles from and I think that aesthetic would definitely be something that could work for a for rendition of Michelle Remembers, the porn parody, in case you ever get a chance to see it. It's called Sister Tempest.
Well, I did give the synopsis for a part 2 of Michelle Remembers, the porn parody that actually has nothing to do with the previous Michelle Remembers, either the book or this porn parody we did. It was an idea I had, and I stand by it. I think this is going on TST TV, isn't it? The whole full table reading. It might be there now.
Yeah. Not yet, but it definitely is. I know that the VHQ people are planning to send it over sometime in the next few days. So I don't know when it'll go up, but it'll be over there.
See, there's another potential pitfall of doing something like this. The other content creators put months into production, seeing us throw this together.
But getting back to what you were saying,
and then be like, oh, well, what the fuck?
But getting back to what you were saying about it being like a moment captured in time with the pandemic and everything, it's really interesting to have it be this Zoom table read because everybody's been stuck in Zoom meetings for the last 8 months with each other. And it's just, it really kind of feels like the life we've been living under the pandemic, you know?
Really brings it home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right.
You want to talk about a bit about TST HQ, the virtual HQ, and how you've been able to use that to connect with people, especially in the time of the pandemic. That must be a rallying point and a way to raise morale with everybody.
That was the whole point. The idea of VHQ came up in response to the pandemic. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing some interviews where, the interviewers were asking what we were going to do as an organization. How were we going to keep social? Were we going to still get together physically at locations and things like that? And as you can see, we're one of the few religious organizations that overtly sent a message of stay the fuck home and try not to spread the disease, you lousy assholes. So, but we still wanted to keep some kind of community going, right? That's kind of our function as a religious organization, even as being IRS tax exempt. If we aren't congregating on any regular basis, it calls our status into question. So immediately we set about trying to think of ways, to meet the pandemic head on, and keep the community in order. And that's how movie nights started. I started, streaming movie nights, but that can only take you so far. And then, Ada, who I work with, had a group of friends, developers in Cambridge, who were working on this format that ended up becoming the virtual headquarters, where it's like you have a virtual environment with a map, different rooms, and the different rooms can have different settings to do different kinds of performances or have different types of overall optics to enhance those performances or whatever's appropriate for them, right? You could do like a movie night thing where there's just a live chat in the sidebar, or there's social rooms that are more like a Zoom grid with just audio and video and people getting drunk and bullshitting. And then there's rooms where, you can have both, where you have the central presentation and people, you can still see the audience and things like that. So it's really great, I think, for conferences, and we're going to put together a Grey Faction conference really soon. And I think it's kind of the obvious, intuitive next step for this kind of online community activity. And everybody would be doing it right now if we didn't allow bullshit tech companies like fucking Facebook to become an absolute monopoly to the point where they don't have to care whether they do any research and development or release anything new. They'll just try to kill or absorb anything that comes up that might compete with them or whatever. And I think it's kind of left us, a good solid 10 to 15 years behind on where the technology could be. But in any case, VHQ is really great for this. It's kind of ridiculous that it's cutting edge, but just nobody else is using it, that kind of thing. Obvious, but I don't know. People should check it out. I think it's really worked out really well. And but problem is, there's significant costs that are sunk into every time we open it, and every time we're using that kind of server space and everything else. So we do have to charge for these events.
Mm. Yeah, but it's a reasonable amount.
Yeah, well, and considering, we have a physical headquarters and people would have to, pay the price of going to Salem, Massachusetts, and then, pay the price of being able to access the gallery and stuff like that. They're actually getting a lot more bang for their buck and for a lot less. So it's a great platform. I really love it. I've had the luxury of being able to participate with a lot of VHQ things over the last few months, and I love the idea. I think it's fantastic. I think it makes it a lot more available to people who don't have the means to access more nationally driven type activities, because chapters can utilize it. Other people within the organization who usually are just solely based in one location that won't be able to go anywhere else, have the ability to broadcast. And, like Lucian was discussing, if various campaigns or any chapter wants to do conferences or something like that, now we have the ability to do so for a lot less than showing up and actually having to do the cost of renting things and stuff. So yeah, it's fantastic. I've loved the experience of it.
I see the question of whether there's a mobile app for VHQ.
Not yet.
Yeah, we wish, but the fact of the matter is people don't realize it's something like this is really difficult to turn into a mobile app. It's a whole different type of project. And our cost estimate for that, I think, is around $50,000 if we were to do it. And we don't have it. We just don't have it. And every time we've opened up VHQ, we've been sweating it on whether we'd break even. And we've been lucky because the ticket sales have been such that, at the last minute we'll pull into the black, but there's still anxiety every time. And there's certainly not that kind of expendable financing to go into doing a mobile app.
Sure. Well, that's understandable. Chalice, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the lust ritual that you're talking. I mean, Jack, before you guys came on, Jack and I were talking about life, the universe, and everything. And he mentioned that you were doing a talk about a lust ritual.
Yeah, so for tomorrow, myself and Michelle Short, we are going to be discussing lust rituals. For the last week or so, we've been asking people to create and submit lust rituals that we'll discuss and read. We're not having, unfortunately, that this is done through Twitch, so can't have nudity. We can't, so people aren't able to really perform their lust rituals, or at least go balls out. So, but they are reading, they are submitting their written pieces, and Michelle and I are going to discuss them and also just talk about the nature of lust rituals and ritual itself, and the history of basically, ritual sex magic and how that relates to Satanism. And then I've written one, I've performed one. Michelle has hers, and we have others that have hosted who are submitting theirs, and we'll discuss those and, have a really good time to do that. So I think the deadline is tonight for people to submit those. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how other people's interpretation of that, because I have, when it comes to ritual, I have my practical everyday type, and then I have my absolute out of this world psychodrama type rituals. And my lust ritual is one of those just out of this world. I light myself on fire as part of my lust ritual. And for me, it's performative. It's just a really cool thing that adds, I think, to the aesthetic and the whole vibe of what I'm trying to conjure, trying to, make manifest. So those are the things that I do. But for everyone else, it's very different. And, the end goal is always different for other people too. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading everybody's, and, Michelle will do hers. I'll do a reading of mine. And yeah, it'll be fun to talk about.
Cool. Now I feel like I should have a lust ritual. I don't know. Is this? I imagine a lust ritual isn't something one should be shoulded into, but something one just explores.
I don't mean to speak out of turn. You kind of do.
Yeah, you kind of do. I mean, a lust ritual is just, any act or anything that inspires the feeling of lust. Oh. And so that's so when we talk about ritual, I mean, ritual is very it looks very different, and it can be very, very small, or it can be very, very big. You could have, your everyday things that, as part of your everyday, if I do this one thing every single day, I can get through the rest of it, and, my entire existence is perfectly even keel, or you do big, like, black masses and stuff like that. So, that's why I talk about the difference between, for me, I have, the little small, everyday type things that I do, and then I do the big performance psychodrama, crazy things that I do. But and so my lust ritual, the one we'll be talking about, is my big performance piece. But then there's other things that that you would do with your partner or with yourself, or maybe you're wanting to bring, you're wanting to exude lust and maybe have some benefit come to you, like money. So it can look any which way you want. The end goal can be whether you're getting something, using your sexual energy to attain monetary gain or, possession, or it could be, to inspire something with a partner, or maybe not a partner, or something you do for yourself if you're going solo, or it could be, I just want another excuse to light myself on fire.
Excellent.
Which is usually where I go with it.
So we are closing in on an hour. It's hard to believe we've been talking for close to an hour. We always like to end with this question, and we could just do this round robin since we have 3 guests on. Is there a question you wanted us to ask you, but we didn't? Was there a topic? Is there a topic you wanted to touch on, but we just didn't get around to it? And this isn't about plugs or where people can find you online, but was there a topic, a subject you really wanted to speak about? We'll start off with Dex.
No, not really.
I like the answer, sir. Strong but silent. How about you, Chalice?
I think we should end the evening talking about the most romantic shitting, face shitting that has ever been written. Tell us what your inspiration for that was, Lucien.
I really don't have a scatological fetish at all. And in fact, I liked the idea of people really being turned off by this porn. And that, to me, was like the ultimate. Like, I don't understand wanting to see that. I don't understand wanting to have that happen. But to see other people squirm in agony over seeing it makes it all worth it. I love it. But if there's one thing I think I should mention, it's, talking about superfluous bullshit projects that wouldn't be if it hadn't been for COVID and what's next. Some people know that in the movie nights, I did subtitling for a Turkish version of The Exorcist, in which in Turkey, their copyright laws are such that they're essentially non-existent. They take American movies and make cheap knockoffs of them, and then they really exist in this kind of copyright gray area. And there was this cheap knockoff of The Exorcist that I decided to subtitle, but I don't speak Turkish, and I hadn't watched The Exorcist in a long time and did not do so before putting subtitles to the Turkish Exorcist. Instead, I put the subtitles that I thought were probably the best, the funniest or whatever. I created a new narrative from The Exorcist. Now, of course, as these things do, it's become a much bigger thing. And now, Satanic Planet, the band I work with, the album's still not out. But we were talking about soundtracking this, and we were having a difficult time figuring out how we'd soundtrack it without taking out the dialogue. So now we're talking about dubbing it. Yeah. And it looks like we'll have a much more all-star cast potentially than anybody would think we were capable of. And we'll put the soundtracking to it too. And that's something that I hope to see on TST TV, soon enough. But I think this will really be something.
Well, if it's done well, it could be quite exciting. I remember going to the Museum of Fine Arts.
Forget about this if it's done well shit. What were we just talking about for the last hour?
Well, if it's done in a way that fits to your vision, how's this? I'm gonna.
All right. Yeah, meet me halfway here.
Yeah, I'll meet you halfway. It can still be shitty. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to demean shittiness or put it too high up. But you can still do shitty, and it still will mesh well with the material. We'll go with that, and people will like it.
Yeah, no, I think we're on to something here. And you know, ultimately, it's just about doing things. You know, a lot of people talk about projects and have their dumb ideas and never go anywhere with them.
Yep.
Yeah, a dumb idea that gets made is better than a great idea that nothing ever gets done with, right?
Yeah.
I do have one question I just thought of, and I want to go round table with this. Starting with Jack Maturko, actually. Jack Maturko, what was your favorite part of the table read?
Oh, geez. Well, for me personally, I was a particular fan of the Ken Burns wipes of Lucian's wonderful illustrations, because I thought they really added to the overall feel of the fiasco that it was.
Chalice, what was your favorite part of the table read? What you remember, or maybe looking at it afterwards.
Oh, well, so none of the cast had actually seen any of the drawings, like as we were in it. So my favorite part of outside of just being able to do it, and the fun that we had just doing the thing, my favorite part was seeing it all compiled together and then seeing the drawings that, and really matching what I thought I heard him say or in what I read, and actually seeing it visually there. That for me is when I was just losing my mind. It really brought the whole thing together.
Cool. How about you, Dex?
Well, I definitely got to agree. The drawings are, for me, were one of the best parts. And I really enjoyed the stage direction we got to. That was so perfect and easy to understand. And and then watching it, and having remembered literally nothing after my third line, and seeing myself singing and dancing and playing with my nipples and not remembering having done any of it. I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing?
You know, I need to addendum my response, because I think the final sing-along, I think that was just that where's our fucking Grammy? That's what I want to know.
And then they used it as the end credits song too, and that was even better somehow.
I think my favorite part was getting a sense of everybody's exasperation when they realized I did expect them to sing.
I'm so looking forward to it, because like I remember when Dex and I were, because like I said, like we took one attempt to try and like get prepared, you know, so that we were just, we wanted to be professionals, right? And it got to the point where we're like, wait, he wants us to sing. And then we were like, okay, does he have like a tune in mind? Like we're trying to think of, okay, what was he actually listening to when he wrote this, so we can base it off of that. And then we were trying to come up with our own, just like, well, does it sound like this? Does it sound like that? And so in the actual table read, you can see me shouting at Dex, like, just do it the way we rehearsed it, which is literally just scream it. Don't just scream it.
And that was my first time ever.
Like any of the best nights of any of our lives, it walked the line between humiliation and great fun.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, where can people find you online? You can talk about your sites, your Twitter handles. We'll start off, I guess, with Chalice.
Oh, you can just type in my name and find me on Twitter. I don't like Facebook, so I'm not there much anymore. So yeah, just Chalice Blythe. And then I've got more less appropriate ones, but you guys don't need to know about those.
Well, you've got a new show starting on TST TV soon, right?
Yeah, we do. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to be doing the Lust Ritual event on on VHQ tomorrow night with Michelle Short. She and I have a show coming up on TST TV called Flesh, and that show is talking about all forms, matters, all spectrums of sexuality. Being able to talk about it in a very uninhibited way. We're going to have a ton of guests talking about the various aspects of sexuality, asexuality, and then everything else in between. And so we don't have a launch date for that yet, but we will be making sure to plug it once we're able to do so.
Cool. Dex, do you have anything you want to plug? Any Twitter handle? Any project at all?
Yeah, for Twitter, it's just at Dex Desjardins, spelled exactly like it sounds. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm pretty active there, probably more than like 3 random teenagers put together. I hate it too, but yeah, I'm there. Projects. Well, I'm heavily involved in our development of our ordination program. Yeah, we're almost ready to roll it out to our first testing crew.
Ordination program. Once that is rolled out, I'd be intrigued to hear about it. Definitely. It sounds quite exciting. Actually,
it's exciting, and it's the intellectually most challenging thing I've done since my master's degree.
Oh, cool!
It has been a ton of work.
Yeah. What's your grad degree in?
My grad degree is in history.
Oh wow! Well, how about that?
And unlike most people with history degrees, I've always been a historian. I actually do the job. It's great.
Well, congratulations! You completely skipped over Starbucks barista to go into tech and actually staying in your field. I mean, that's difficult to do.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate in that regard. And if you were disappointed that this was a porn parody, and you wanted to actually see Chalice and I doing things, we have that on the internet as well.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
So the director, formerly known as Lucien Greaves, where can people find you online? You want to plug any site in particular or a number of sites?
No, just find me on Twitter at Lucien Greaves. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
I'm not much ever.
Fantastic. Everyone in the chat, thanks for showing up. Thanks for contributing. Our lovely guests are lovely, and I had a lot of fun, as always. I'm going to be here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., doing the news review, doing some left to center kind of talk, shaking my fist in the clouds. Jack Materko, last words for you, sir.
I'll be here next Sunday night with you again.
Like, you sound...
This is my Sunday night now, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
I'll be here with you again. This is what happens when you're working with someone for like I don't even know how long we've been working together for, Jack.
6 or 7 years. It's been a while.
It's been a while. All right, everyone. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Like I said, tomorrow morning, I'm back. Hope you show up. Take care. And thanks again, guests. Thanks again.
Well, thanks for having us.
All right,
Thank you. Good night.